right? Klima DAO.
Yes.
I mean, tell us what is happening there.
Yeah, it's a very interesting project that just launched on Monday. So Klima DAO is actually a fork of another project called Olympus DAO. And Olympus DAO is this sort of Ponzi scheme looking system where it basically, they're trying to create a stable-ish currency. Before they create that product, they want to bootstrap a lot of liquidity. It's sort of like they're trying to get a lot of people to buy into this currency and provide liquidity. And then once they reach a certain amount of liquidity, you know, billions of dollars or whatever, that liquidity is going to backstop this currency. And it's going to be less volatile because there's so much liquidity. It's going to be harder to move the price of this thing if there's already a ton of liquidity. So in order to buy this currency, which is called OHM in Olympus DAO, you have to provide liquidity. And then you give that liquidity to the DAO, and it in return gives you the tokens. And so there's this sort of winding up of a spring where people are buying the token, putting in liquidity into the DAO, and the DAO owns the liquidity. And that liquidity is sort of backstopping the price. And analyzing this system is actually quite complicated to understand, you know, how it really is going to work in the long term. I mean, right now it's obviously in a growth phase. There's a lot more people coming in. And as long as that's the case, yes, the price is going to keep going up. But this system is so new and it's got such complicated economics at play. It's really hard to say, is it actually going to work? And then on the demand side, it's like, I don't personally see a lot of demand for a stable-ish currency. I think that if people are wanting to get out of the volatility of crypto, they go to their fiat stablecoin, USDC or, you know, Euro or something. So I don't really see a lot of demand for this thing as it is. And that was my problem with Olympus DAO. Now we've got Klima DAO. And what they did is they forked Olympus DAO, and they basically said, we're going to make this system suck up carbon credits. So in order to issue the climate token, you have to buy carbon credits and then throw it into this DAO and effectively locking them up. And the point then is, by buying Klima, you are indirectly you're indirectly fighting climate change, in other words, because you're basically supporting the price of carbon removal. And so if you've got some carbon removal project, whether it's, you know, planting trees or scrubbing CO2 out of the air, those are creating these carbon credits, and those are then issued on the blockchain, and then people can buy those and lock it up in the DAO. And so the demand side of the Klima token is that people will theoretically be buying this as a ideological donation to the world, if you will. So they're not trying to create some weird sort of low volatility currency. They're actually trying to do something that's got more of a humanitarian perspective to it. That, in my mind, checks the last box I had with my problem with Olympus DAO. And so if you are going to be using Klima, you're going to be providing liquidity in there and you know, speculating on the token. What you're really speculating on is that, are there going to be enough people that want to basically donate money to the cause, if you will, by buying this? And if you get in early, you could potentially see a lot of growth from that. But again, it's a new project. It's highly risky. There's a lot of complicated economics at play, and there's probably problems that are out there that haven't been found yet with it. So it's highly risky, but it is a very interesting project because it's basically taken this liquidity black hole concept from Olympus DAO and used it for a humanitarian purpose. And I think that really resonates with a lot of people in the crypto community. And it's certainly been, you know, one of the most projects with a lot of buzz going on recently on crypto Twitter.
So do you think the project has all good intentions? And how does, you know, maybe even newer investors kind of do their own underwriting or due diligence on it, where there's probably a lack of information out there?
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of information. You know, they do have some Medium posts you can go read. They do have some code you can go look at, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of information. I mean, some of the team is anonymous, most of the team, as far as I know. So at this point, people that are putting money into it, hopefully it's just money that they can afford to lose, and it's at this point just a lot of DeFi degens who are just kind of throwing money at everything that moves, which is fine. Again, if you can lose that money and you understand that it's, pretty much a coin flip at the end of the day, fine. That's the stage that this project is still in. It's just so early and so untested that I really wouldn't put any significant amount of money in this for you. But it's something to keep watch, and it's something that could turn out to be a very solid project if they are able to go through the ballot testing and get a little bit more refined with the code and the quality of the team. Just to mention the code, I mean, they already ran into 2 or 3 bugs when they launched it that were like, it was pretty basic bugs that could have been caught if they did some amount of testing, but it didn't look like they did much of any testing on their code. So just be forewarned that this code is potentially pretty rusty.
So if they fork the code, is this, this other audit, is this what they do additionally on top of the forked code?
Yeah, so they did have to make some changes to the code to get it to work, because they basically had to add in a new token, these like carbon credits into the system. And the bugs that I saw actually were on their front end. So on their website, there were certain like buttons that weren't working and fields that weren't showing up. And this stuff, it would have been pretty basic in my mind to hash out in some testing where, you have some users go in and try to use the app on your testnet and see what's going on. So the fact that they didn't catch these bugs that, they looked like basic math errors or basic JavaScript errors, that's a little concerning. I think that this is one of those things where in crypto that a lot of times these projects start off really shoddy and start off with kind of small amount of people. They don't quite have the talent that it takes, but they get enough of a community, they generate enough critical mass that people just sort of show up and start working on this thing. And it does turn out to be a legitimate project at the end of the day. So it could turn out to be that if they garner enough community support. And I think the humanitarian side of this might be the pivotal issue for them to get a lot of interest from the community and get a lot more developers showing up to work on this.
Do you think as long as they're transparent with all that, then more people will join?
Yes, I think that if they can be transparent and they continue to demonstrate their values to the community, then I think that a lot more people will be interested. Again, it is sort of pinning on this Olympus DAO system of this, liquidity black hole. And I know there's a lot of people, myself included, that are skeptical of the economics of this system because it feels a lot like a Ponzi scheme, to be honest. I mean, it's got some Ponzi-nomics in there, and it's not clear how to value this thing, or it's not clear how to know, when you should buy or when you should sell, when is it overvalued, etc. It just sort of feels like the system is trying to like distract people from all of that and just say, look, it just keeps going up, so buy it. So there's a little bit of that going on, and hopefully we get some people come out with more detailed analysis of the economics here, and they can point out the pitfalls and point out, when is there going to be problems, or what problems do we need to fix in the economics. I think some of that's going to have to happen before this thing really gets a large amount of money coming in.
And for those that may not know, what blockchain is that on?